Missed an episode of your favorite podcast? Choose from over a decade of content in our archives, not just the latest episode. All free at GCNlive.com.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Yeah. I'm looking around the studio here, and it's just me and a couple Colts for hour number one. And I've got a couple comments, some things, observations. I'll tell you what my thoughts are. And, of course, some topics from the book. Jason's engineering the broadcast in Minnesota at Genesis Communications Network. I'm Vincent Finelli. And hour number two, Bert's going to be with us. Patent engineer, radio frequency engineer. We're going to talk about DIY security system, cameras, wireless. And I mentioned yesterday that we're going to talk about it. I'm not crazy about wireless, but I think, giving all the alternatives, security is important right now. So we'll be talking about that. So for those of you who are saying, yeah, well, Vinny doesn't like wireless. Right. That's true. Vinny doesn't like wireless for most reasons. I'd like to mention a few things. One, y'all know this, that profanity is unacceptable to me, right? It seems to me that people are using it more and more and more. I've seen videos of people in the media, pretty girls, swearing, using language that is unbecoming of a lady. And I replay it and I look, and do they flinch? No. This is who they are. They're like this. This is their common vernacular. And when I see someone do that, whether it be male or female, someone who is in we'll call it a leadership position. I'm not talking about politically necessarily, but I'm talking about, someone who's in the media, someone who, people pay attention to, and they use profanity. I don't pay attention to them anymore. I'm done with them. Why is that? Well, it weakens their argument. They run out of words and they've got to resort to four-letter words? Is that what it is? To me, it weakens the argument so much that I don't think that the rest of what they have to say is of interest to me. It's a sign of disrespect. Profanity is a sign of disrespect to all of those who are in earshot. I have never had, in all my years of formal education, I'm talking about elementary school, I'm talking about high school, I'm talking about undergraduate university, graduate university. Not once did any of my instructors/professors, or even the guy who would say, yeah, your instructor's not coming in today, he's sick, class is dismissed. Not even that guy. No one used profanity. It's unacceptable. Now I've heard people say, oh, he swears like a sailor or a drunken sailor. Well, I'm here to say that my father-in-law, and I've known him for about 40 years while he was alive, was a sailor. U.S. Navy, World War II. He was a corpsman. He saw blood and gore and guts. He's been shelled. He was there in the thick of it. I never heard him swear once. Now, it's only about 40 years. My father? Now, I knew my father for about 60 years while he was alive. He was a U.S. Army sergeant. He was strafed by the kamikazes, the Japanese. They call them Japs. He was shot at. They wanted to kill him. And not just him. Everybody in his squad. I never heard my dad use profanity once. Maybe that's why you don't hear me use profanity. Maybe it was because of my upbringing. My mother was a lady. My mother never swore. My father never swore. I never heard my grandfathers swear. My grandmothers. My aunts or uncles. Nobody in our family, either side, used profanity. Now, why is that? We just don't. It's not necessary. From my perspective, a person cannot win an argument with profanity. Not with me. I mean, they can yell and scream, and I can walk away. But they can't win the argument with me using profanity. Nor can they win the argument with tattoos, and nose rings, and tongue rings, and brandings, and all other kinds of disfigurements. They can't win the argument with me. Because I look at them and I say they're weak. And then some people might say, yeah, but I got that tattoo when I was real, I was stupid. Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. They got it when they were stupid. They were younger and stupid. So, I just wanted to let you know that my position on profanity here at USA Prepares is it is absolutely, positively unacceptable. Now, has it happened? Yes, it has. And I'm here to apologize for it. It didn't come from me. I try my best to not let it happen, but it happens. It's unacceptable. It is 100% preventable by the person who utters the profanity. It seems that I am almost powerless to stop it, but I will. I will stop it. I got an email from Dr. Norm Shealy yesterday, and some of you probably got the same email. And this is not a commercial. This is we're running out of time. And if you would like to buy some of his supplements, he has a 10% off sale. So I just got this email, and it was, it's a pre-election sale. That's what it's been called. You go to normshealy.com, normshealy.com. And there is a discount code. Capital letters HOPE, 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 2020. As in Hope 2020, one word. That'll get you 10% off. And you'll pay the same price that I do. And if you decide that you want your youth formula, 120 capsules, I think it's $16 plus 10% off. I take it every day, many times a day. This is not a commercial. Dr. Shealy does not pay me for this. As a matter of fact, I wrote him an email and I said, Dr. Shealy, may I pass along your sale code for 10% on the air tomorrow? May I do that? And he said, yes, thank you. Okay. So it's not like there's a financial relationship. There is none. It's just I think it is the best in the business. That's why I take it. I can take a different supplement. I can buy some vitamin C someplace else. But I buy his. Because his isn't just vitamin C. It's vitamin C plus MSM. And it's not 1,000 milligrams, it's 2,000 milligrams. Plus 1,000 milligrams of MSM. Okay. I'm just sharing some things that have happened and my reactions to them. Okay, so AutoZone called, and we do a lot of business with AutoZone, and we happen to like them. For the most part, their parts are pretty darn good. Now, a lot of them come from China. I don't want you to think that, we still make parts in the United States. We hardly do. But it seems that AutoZone has some staff at the corporate level, the buyers, if you will, and maybe they've got some people who have some mechanical and engineering expertise, and they look at the parts and they say, no, this isn't going to work for us. We're not going to put our house brand on it, Duralast brand on it. We won't sell that. So generally speaking, the parts that they do sell are okay. They're pretty good. And we get better prices than most of the shops because there are different prices in automobile parts. If you walk in off the street and you're just, a do-it-yourselfer and you say, hey, I need some brakes and I've got a 2000 whatever, they'll look it up and they'll say, here are the brakes, here's the price. You want the good, better, best. Here are the three prices, and you pick one and they'll hand you the brakes and you pay for it. Well, we don't do it quite that way. We know exactly what the part number is. We know what the application is. We look it up and we say, here's what we're looking for. What part number do you have? And they'll give us the part number and we'll say, good, that's the one we have too. So we verify with them that their number is right. Well, and then we say, so how much is it? And then they'll say, well, here's the price. And we'll go, okay, but we can get it for less. Here's how much we'll pay for it. And they'll say, okay, we'll match it. All right. Now, they deliver to us. So it's really, it works out really nicely. Now, we don't make them go crazy. We don't have them come out for, $2 parts. And we are one of their best customers. I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the truth. We don't advertise. There's no sign. There's no, yellow pages. There's no internet presence. It's all word of mouth. Our phone number doesn't even say the name of the company. Their regional guy called up yesterday, and I happened to be near the phone in the shop after the broadcast, and I heard the call. And he called up, and he introduced himself, and he said he wants to come over. And our son said, well, I appreciate that, but thanks anyway. No thanks. It's appointment only. He said, well, I've got some good news for you, and I want to tell you about some, some changes. They're all good and, benefit you and so forth. And my son said, great. Why don't we do it over the phone? And so the upshot of this whole thing was, we want to lower your prices. We want to lower your prices. So they have a computer system, and they can override, or they can put in different levels of pricing based on their customers. So they can say, well, we've got the ABC company, and we'll give them X pricing, and we've got the DEF company, and we'll give them a little better, and we've got the XYZ, and we'll give them even better. So they offered to lower our prices. Very interesting to me. Now, why is that? Well, I can only think of a couple reasons. Number one, we don't cause problems. Number two, they realize that the business is growing. And number three, they realize that sales in general for auto parts is down. So put all that together, and the big guy calls. I'm just sharing information, to help you connect dots. I'm also telling you that if you would like, you don't have to pay full price. I went into O'Reilly's years ago. We've been doing business with O'Reilly's for about 11 years. They're a chain store. Actually, they're one of the largest businesses in the state of Missouri. O'Reilly's Auto Parts, believe it or not. I'm not kidding. I think they're number 9. I think they're number 9 largest business in the state of Missouri. O'Reilly's Auto Parts. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about that when I come back. Just me today and a couple of calls. And a couple? That's 2. A couple is 2. A few is 3. We'll be right back. A few years ago, I walked into O'Reilly's Auto Parts. And we've been doing business with them for 11 years or so at the time. And maybe even more than that, maybe closer to 15. And, we had an account with them. So we could just walk in and use the secret password. And they would charge the purchase, to our account. And it worked really well. Except for one thing. We never got better prices than anybody else. So we had an account with them for years. But yet we paid the same price as some guy who, might have been traveling by and not bought a lot of stuff from that particular location or that company. And it kind of frosted me. So I was in there one day and I wanted to buy a compressor for our John Deere tractor. It's a model 2950. Has a General Motors compressor. And they don't make them anymore, so the only ones you can get are rebuilt ones. And they had one. And I went in and asked them what the price was. This was the good old days, years ago. They gave me the price, and I thought, that's the same price as on the internet, from their store. Why aren't they giving me a better price? So I asked them. I said, so what's the deal? We've had an account for years and years, over a decade. What's the deal? How come we don't get a better price than this? And the guy said, well, it depends on volume. The more you spend, the lower the price. And I said, we've been spending money for years here. We have an account. We've had it for years here. And we keep hearing the same thing, and we keep talking to you guys, and we keep getting the runaround, and you don't lower our prices. I said, and I crouched down, and I looked out the window. Now the guy was behind the counter, and if he looked kind of through me, he could see AutoZone across the road. And I said, those guys over there, AutoZone, those guys, they give us better prices than you do. And so the guy behind the counter said, yeah, well, they want your business. And I said, I got it. I'm going to go give it to him. I'm going to give him our business. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, let's see what we can do. And they lowered the price 10%. And they said, you know what? I think we can get down to 15% off. What I'm telling you is you don't have to pay the asking price. Okay? Now, that experience was painful for me. Why did I have to go through that? And so the O'Reilly's guy was telling me that AutoZone will do more for us to get our business. And, light bulb went off, and I thought, I got to be out of my mind to be shopping at O'Reilly. So how much business does O'Reilly get from us? I don't know, maybe 0.1% of what they used to get. As a result of right then and there, that time, that incident. So we vote with our wallet. The people who take care of us, we're loyal to them. But if they don't reciprocate, after a while, we lose interest. And you can do the same kinds of things. Let me give you another example. So we've been dealing with this propane company for 15 years. And they've been pretty good. And all of a sudden, we call a local office, 20-something miles away. The gal's been there for, years, decade. And all of a sudden we call the local number and we get corporate headquarters out of state. And the price goes up about 70%. 70%. And I'm thinking, what's going on? So we call back later, a couple weeks later. And you know what? They know who we are. They've got this screen that says telephone number, Vincent Finelli, and they've got the quote, and they read it off. And the price stays the same. The price doesn't fluctuate. Now I'm looking at the market price on the internet, and I know what propane costs wholesale, and I'm thinking it should have come down, but it didn't. So they've got this system where they can remember what they told you. This computer system, right? Well, ultimately, I finally found the number for the local office. And I called, and I got the gal, and she remembered me from years and years and years ago. She said, you still on the radio? I said, yeah. Price came down about 70%, 70%. Companies will skin you if you let them. I'm not going to let them. I'll tell you another propane story when we come back. Boy, I was hoping to get through more today. Half of this hour is almost gone. I'm going to tell you another story about another propane company. And I'll tell you, I've got a lot to tell you today. You might find it a little bit interesting. Not just me for this hour, then Bert Bertonis. We'll be talking about do-it-yourself wireless security cameras, hour number 2. So there was a company that sells propane. I was checking prices, and I thought, you know what? During this time when they wanted to fleece me for another 70%, the company that I was dealing with for years and years and years, and been loyal to, I decided to shop around. So I called another company in town, and I asked them about their propane prices. And I said, I own my own tanks. And I only call when there's a large delivery. We're not going to drive you crazy. we'll call you and we'll pay you for it right then and there when you show up. And that's how we'd like to transact business with you. Well, good. So what's the price? Well, what are you going to use it for? What do you mean, what am I going to use it for? Well, is it for home heating? Is it for hot water? Is it to heat your house? Do you have a barn? Does that make a difference? Well, yeah, it makes a difference. So, you see, Mr. Finelli, depending on what you're going to do with the propane, that determines the price. Yeah. So I said something to the effect, you got to be kidding me. So if I were to buy gasoline from you and you're telling me if I'm going to go to town with it or I'm going to ride around on my farm with it, there's different prices. Now I know there's a difference in taxes. Yes. Farmers don't pay tax on fuel for the farm. But if I go to town with it, yeah, I do pay tax on that. Well, what they're telling me is depending on what I'm going to do with the propane, they would charge me a different amount. And I said, forget it. What I'm trying to share with you is business is changing very, very quickly. Who would ever have thought that there would be a different price for the same thing based on what you're going to do with it? You go to the store and you say, I want to buy a hammer, and they say, well, what are you going to do with it? Well, my wife wants me to hang these pictures. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah. As long as you're not going to use it for, building a wall. Now, if you can use it for building a wall, that's a different price. Same hammer, right? We're not going to put up with this. Our country is falling apart right in front of our eyes. And it's easy to prove. And let me prove it to you right now. So, in 1971, the price of gold in U.S. denominated dollars was 35. 1 ounce of gold was 35 U.S. dollars. In 2020, rough numbers, around $1,900. How much has the value of the dollar lost in terms of purchasing power since 1971? Well, you can do the arithmetic. $35 in 1971, $1,900 roughly in 2020. It's dropped in value compared to gold 98%. I'm not making this up. I'm going to prove it to you. I remember numbers like this. So in 1970, I was alive in 1971. I was alive in the 1950s. I was alive in the early 1950s. So how much was a dozen eggs? Now, eggs were considered pretty expensive back in the 70s, 1971. 59 cents a dozen. Potatoes were 99 cents for 10 pounds. Bacon, 80 cents a pound. How much is bacon today? It's getting close to $6, $7, $8 a pound? Or is it one of those new and improved fun size pounds, which is 12 ounces, 3/4 of a pound? Bacon was 80 cents a pound. Sirloin steak, $1.19. How much is that now? I don't know. I really don't know. A loaf of bread, was somewhere around 25 cents. I remember my mom paying 17 cents for it. Ketchup, standard size ketchup. I'm not talking about the fun size. I'm talking about standard size glass jar, plastic cap ketchup, 19 cents. Tomato soup. Now that'd be something like Campbell's. Tomato soup, concentrated tomato soup, 10 cents a can. Pork chops, 59 cents a pound. Pot roast, 59 cents a pound. They had things called TV dinners. They were kind of fun. There were these aluminum trays. You put them in the oven, and you didn't even have to cook. You had to remember to buy them, but you didn't have to cook. 39 cents a piece. Onions, 9 cents a pound. Oranges, 7 cents a pound. Gas, 36 cents a gallon. You could buy a car for, a $3,000 neighborhood. Tires. Now these had white walls. I don't even know if they make white wall tires anymore. I haven't seen them. Now, the white walls, they were the expensive ones. They're about $2 more. $13 a piece. Motor oil, 25 cents a quart. Motor oil, 25 cents a quart. You can't get the cheap stuff for less than 10 times that now. A men's suit was $40. Now, it's a suit. That's like a coat, pants, maybe even a vest. $40. Men's dress shoes. Now, they were made in America. They weren't these Chicom thin, substandard pieces, parts, leather. They were $22, and they would last 30 years. Okay. So I just wanted to share with you some of the prices, and I just proved to you that your purchasing power has gone down 98% compared to gold. The guy who's CEO right now, in my opinion, has failed us. Now, I know some people aren't going to like that. He and his advisors have mismanaged the coronavirus. Now, I'm not saying Jumpin' Joe's better. He's worse. Let me give you the real numbers, and I'll give you a timeline. Right now, as of yesterday, there are 9.2 million infected cases of the coronavirus. 9.2 million in the United States as of yesterday. As of yesterday, there were 91,500 new cases. Yesterday, 91,500, just say 91,000 new cases of the coronavirus yesterday. Yesterday, there were 1,047 deaths. The total number of deaths in the United States, just the United States, so far, as of yesterday, 234,000. Let me give you the timeline. And I'm going to tell you how, I'm going to prove to you how they mismanaged this. I have not changed my tone nor tune one iota on this. I think I'm the only guy who says this is real, this is dangerous, this is expensive, it's a killer, and pay attention and be careful. I can't believe that we're still hearing that this is not real. And this is the CEO saying this. January 20th this year. The first confirmed case of the coronavirus was announced in Washington State. January 22nd. Yep. We have a plan. January 22nd. We have it under control. January 24th. 2 cases. And we appreciate China's efforts and transparency. January 25th. 5 cases. This is just the United States, right? And the U.S. experts are on top of the situation 24/7. This is coming from Corporate Central, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., United States of America, planet Earth. January 30th, 7 cases confirmed in the United States. U.S. has a very little problem with 5 cases. I'm not making these words up. This is coming right from Corporate Central. January 31st, 8 cases confirmed. February 5th, 11 cases. February 7th. With warmer weather, virus hopefully becomes weaker with warmer weather and then gone. February 10th, 12 confirmed cases. February 23rd, 51 confirmed cases. Situation is very much under control. We're very much involved. We're very, very cognizant of everything going on. We have it very much under control in this country. That's what the boss said. February 24th, 51 cases. February 25th, 57 cases. February 26th, 58 cases. Press conference. The 15 cases in the U.S. within a couple days is going to be down close to zero. Let me repeat that. The 15 this is the boss. The 15 cases in the U.S. within a couple days is going to be close to zero. And he goes on to say, the flu in our country kills from 25,000 people to 69,000 people a year. That was shocking to me, he said. And so far, if you look at what we've had with the 15 people in the recovery, one is pretty sick, hopefully will recover, but the others are in great shape. But we think of that 25,000 to 69,000. And again, when you hear we have 15 people and within a couple of days we're going to be down to close to zero, that's a pretty good job we've done, said the president during a coronavirus task force briefing at the White House. I just told you that as of yesterday, the number is 9 million infected in the United States. And I just told you that it was 91,500 new cases yesterday. And I just told you that 1,047 died yesterday. And the total deaths in the United States are 234,000. February 27th, 60 cases confirmed in the U.S. A couple days later, February 29th, 74 cases. March 4th, 217 cases. March 6th, 402 cases. These are all confirmed. March 9th, 959 cases. I can fast forward through some of this, right? March 13th, 2,700. March 16th, 6,400. March 24th, 65,000. March 29th, 161,000. April 3rd, 273,000. They have mismanaged the whole Megillah. The boss. And if you believe he has a plan, I suggest you think again. Now, the other guy's worse. Jumpin' Joe, the plagiarist, he's worse. Sounds like I've been pretty hard on the boss. Well, he deserves it, because he's not paying attention and he's listening to the wrong people. Jumpin' Joe has been around for a long time. Almost 50 years in the political circus. You may not believe this, class, but he's run for president before. This is his third run. First time he ran was about 32 years ago, and twice since then. He can't help it. He's so greedy that he thinks he can run the country. The most complex organization on the planet. He thinks he can run it. He doesn't even know who he's running against. Now, I've been saying for years, never reelect anyone. Well, you're not going to have a chance to reelect anyone because your vote doesn't count. Well, at least I don't think it does. I'm so confident that my vote doesn't count, I'm not even going to cast my opinion. As to go to the poll. And it's like, who would you like? If you had a choice, who would you prefer of these two bozos? And it's always two bozos. I'm not just talking about the two right now. I'm talking about, it's always, we cast our opinion for the lesser of two evils. Well, I'm not doing it anymore. I didn't vote the last time, and I'm not voting this time. I'm not going to be part of this charade. I don't believe my vote counts. It didn't count the last time. It was the Electoral College that decided. And they'll do it again. And those guys can be bought and paid for. But I've got some really good news for you. It's hardly ever that we have good news, right? But I've got some. The White House yesterday ended the COVID-19 pandemic. They ended it. It's over. That's what they say. Their scientists say that the COVID pandemic is over. except for the problem that hospitals have been turning away patients because they're overfull and overwhelmed. And I guess we're special. France has been hit so hard that as of today, there is a lockdown. You're not going anywhere without paperwork in France. There's a mass exodus out of the cities. People are terrified in France. Look it up. You have papers, please. Just like the Third Reich. Papers, please. And how long is it going to last? Well, until December in France. It's happened in Australia. Gwyneth has told us about it. She's at ground zero. She told us about it. Now it's in France. Now, but that's okay because the COVID-19 pandemic is over here in the United States, according to the White House. If you believe anything that comes out of the White House, you are an idiot. They said yesterday, we've got the best economy ever. Ever. Really? We have people out of work. We have people who can't pay their bills, their mortgage, their car payment, their rent payment, their electric bill. Stores are closing at record rates. You look at any video of downtown New York City, it is vacant. You look at what's happening with this election. The National Guard is deployed throughout the country. The stores are boarded up. Businesses are boarded up because they know that on Tuesday, it's going to be a mess. And as Gwyneth said to me on the phone privately, remember the 5th of November. That's a couple days later. After the selection. She thinks it'll take a couple days before the violence gets even worse than on the selection day. And you can look up the quote. Remember the 5th of November. And it's V for Vendetta. I think the whole thing is pretty terrifying. It's remember the 5th of November. Gunpowder, treason, and smoke. Now, I'm not advocating it. She's not advocating it. It's just something she said, and you know what? I think she's right on the money. There was a little get-together. Biden had one. The president had one. The president was wall-to-wall with people. And it was so hot in Florida yesterday when he had his little get-together with these thousands of people, they had to spray him with water. Keep him cool. It's 86 degrees. Jumpin' Joe's people were in their own cars, separated social distancing by being in their own vehicles. What was in the water? How would you like to be at one of these parties where you get to see your guy and you get sprayed with a mist of water to keep you cool? What's in the water? And what would happen with the water as a spreader, a super spreader? I think we're going to find out in a couple of months what an event that was, what a mistake that was, and how many people got sick. Everyone all set? Cocked, locked, hour number 2 of USA Prepares. I'm delighting to be broadcasting with my dear friend, Bert Bertonis in California. Patent holder, radio frequency engineer, designer of all kinds of electronic equipment. And he is a man who I've known for, well, since the 70s, early 70s. And Bert, thanks for spending your non-replaceable time with us, sharing your expertise in this class about do-it-yourself wireless security systems. Thank you.
Sure, Vince. Glad to be here.
Well, Bert, let me just make one comment to kind of set the stage. The Chinese factory outlet, also known in some circles as Walmart, has been pulling guns and ammunition from the shelves on the sales floor. Walmart has about 4,700 stores in the United States of America. Half of those sell guns and ammunition. Now, you can still buy it, but you have to know what you want because it's not visible. And the reason it's not visible is because of the selection next week for CEO of the United States of America. That being the case, they're expecting violence, which is why we are trying to do this very quick, do-it-yourself wireless outdoor security or indoor security system so that you can set one up very quickly for your own safety. We're not the only ones who are concerned about what's happening in the United States. Now, you probably have a few days to get this done. And if you think that maybe we are some percentage right, 5, 10, 20, 50, 100% right, you might want to take action and further your research based on what you learned today in class. Bert, please tell us what we're going to learn today.
Well, basically, how actually easy it is to put wireless cameras in your house, either outdoors, indoors, upgrading your video doorbell, doing, various things you can do that they don't have to all be wireless, but that's the easiest way to do it. And I can tell you I'm talking from experience because I have pretty much every possible type of wireless camera or doorbell or remote alarm at my premises. And, it's a little complicated only because I have so many devices, but other than that, it's something that I think the average person can easily install.
Okay, let's build one right now. Why don't we build one that can, let's say we have a suburban home and we want to see what's going on outside. What can we look at? Can we look up the street, down the street? What do we do? Can we look in our backyard? Can we look on our deck if we have one? Can we look at our garage door, front door? What do we do? What do you recommend?
Well, we can do all of that, but actually what I recommend, the first thing to do, and it was the first thing I did, is replace your regular doorbell with a Ring doorbell. And there are competitive, and I'm not here to promote Ring as I don't work for them or anything like that, but that's the one I'm most experienced with. But that's, I think, the first thing you should do, because it gives you both a camera at the front of your house where someone's going to come to your door, and it gives you an extra level of security in that when they push that button, you're going to be notified through your phone that someone's at your door. And this is kind of the cool thing about it. You can talk back and forth with that person at your door.
Okay, so you've got to have a smartphone, right?
Well, you do, either Android or Apple. But,
okay. Well, that's just about everybody.
Yeah,
except me. But, okay, so a Ring doorbell, what's it going to cost?
Actually, they're down to as little as $100 now. And if you, I'm just going to guess that if you need to get one right now, given what you said, just go out and get one right now. But in general, if you want to add to your Ring devices, there's probably going to be a lot of sales over the next month, whether it's Black Friday sales or, special sale days. And even Home Depot has, I don't know if a lot of people know this, every day they have a certain category of products that are like 50% off. You can subscribe to their email. And Ring devices have been on that. So do you want me to go into how easy it is to install a Ring doorbell and what it can do?
Yes. Let me just make one comment. So a typical doorbell, class, is held on by 2 screws, and there are 2 wires that provide electricity from a transformer somewhere in the house. That's the old-fashioned doorbell. That's the wiring that most people have in place. Going from there, Bert, how do we do it?
Well, so you have 2 choices. What's really, really cool is you can keep that wiring in place and actually continue to have your old doorbell in the wall work. So if you picture what you just described, Vince, the diagram, in my case, there's a 24-volt transformer in my garage, and wires run from there in 2 directions. Wires go to my front door of my house, where I have a simple single-pole, single-throw switch. That's your doorbell push switch. And another wire goes to a doorbell that's in the wall in my living room. And when you get to the switch, what you really have is one connection from the transformer and one connection from the bell. And what you're really doing, I mean, this is the most elementary of all electrical circuits. You can just, in your mind, sketch it. I mean, it's simply the doorbell in between the transformer and the switch, or any one of them is in between the other two. So it's just a simple three things. It's really, I mean, even though it's two wires going to each of them, you can almost think of it as just one wire connecting each one in like a triangle. So very simple. You push the doorbell button, you've made the circuit, the bell rings from the transformer. Now, all you do, and there's two options, so let me describe the first option for putting that in. All you do is pull out that little push switch, and you might have to figure out how you want to mount it to make it look nice. They come with face plates and things like that. But I'm going to put aside all the mechanical and aesthetic things. We're just talking kind of nuts and bolts electrical here. All you have to do is pull those two wires that were on your switch, your little push doorbell switch, and plug those into the back of your new Ring video doorbell. And here's the thing that I'm really amazed by, the little piece of kind of invention that Ring did is, even though normally that button is not pushed, the battery inside the Ring doorbell is trickle charged through that circuit. And that was just really cool because again, even though there's no completed circuit, technically the doorbell does have a coil in it, and there's enough current goes through that coil even when the doorbell is off, that on the two terminals of your doorbell switch, you can actually trickle charge the battery, so you never have to charge your Ring video doorbell if you do it this way. And that's how I've done it. Now, any questions on that, and I'll describe the other method.
It sounds to me like, Bert, if you were to say, Vinny, here's the box, and if I wanted to put one of these things in, I would be able to accomplish the whole job in, let's say, between 1 and 2 hours.
Yeah, here's the way to look at it. It's actually probably only 5 or 10 minutes of actual work, but you got to scratch your head and say, okay, is this the way I want to position it? And thinking about it is probably 80% of it, and actually, putting in the screws, because, the screws are going to line up a little different, and how do you want to, whether you have stucco or wood or whatever. So you're thinking about it, but the actual work is only 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah, the reason I said it would take 2 hours is I'm a perfectionist, and it would have to be perfect. The end result would have to be perfect. And to further complicate, our house is made out of stone. So, there's no going back. If I made a mistake and chipped out the wrong amount of stone, it would be a real problem for us. Okay, so very good. Now,
that's one method.
Okay.
The other method is if you don't want to preserve your current bell, and again, in what I just described, your bell will still ring inside your house. So in and above everything going to your iPhone, the bell still works. I mean, that's what's really cool about it. Now, the other method is just forget about your doorbell. You either don't have one, or you disconnect it, or actually you could even keep it, but, you don't want people thinking about which button to push, so you have to figure that one out. But you can just put it up and do nothing but just affix it to the front of your house, put it at the right spot where people are going to see it, and you get the best picture of the front area where you walk up to your house. You can just put it there and do nothing and let it work on the rechargeable battery. So the only downside to that method is that you will have to periodically charge the battery. So you got to, snap it out and put the battery onto a USB cable to charge it periodically. Let's say every few months. So that's the only downside to that method. But if you can utilize what's really just, a doorbell technology that's been here for 100 years or more, 12 to 24 volt AC transformer and a bell somewhere in your house. If you have that and you want to maintain using it, the first method I think is the best.
Okay. Now, who gets the video? Obviously, you get it to your phone. How do you prevent, technical companies, Apple, Ring, Amazon, etc., from getting the video of your neighbor across the street sunbathing on her front yard?
Well, they've worked on the security, and but first of all, let me say that it's only transmitting to your Wi-Fi. So that would be the same question as what keeps people from getting your Wi-Fi of anything in your house. And, the biggest thing that keeps people from getting it is it doesn't go very far. But, aside from that, you have security on your Wi-Fi, and the same security is used in any of the wireless cameras or wireless doorbells. So you're going to get it on your phone, and you can allow other family members to get it. You can set that up so other people can get it on their phones if you want. But as far as somebody driving down the street getting it or a neighbor getting it, it's no different than the security you have in Wi-Fi that prevents anything on your Wi-Fi network.
When we come back, will you be teaching us about other technologies, wired technologies, or just wireless? Well, we'll be right back. Bert Bertonis is with us. We're talking about wireless technology, video, and he just gave us a real simple way to install a video camera right at the front door or other location, and you can send the video right to your smartphone. Bert, are there other technologies that you want to share with us, or do you want to continue more with Ring?
Well, yeah, and I don't want to act like I'm necessarily, saying that you should only use Ring. There's so many choices. They've just been very innovative. But let's talk about just cameras now. So there's cameras you can put around your house. Both you mentioned wired, and anything wired is going to be more reliable than wireless, more secure too, because it's just going through your wired Ethernet network. The problem is you may not have the wire to run at all points around your home. You can get what's called power over Ethernet now, so you can avoid having to find power if it's within, let's say maybe 50 or 100 feet. You don't want to go too long, but you can actually supply the power for the device over the 8-conductor Ethernet cable. So there's many cameras available. At my place of work, we use D-Link cameras for our wireless security, and they also hook up to the internet. Unlike Ring, where there's like a certain type of app that you can have people share and everything else. With these cameras, they're a little more professional, and you just get an IP address, and you go into that IP address, and you can see the video. And and by the way, I forgot to mention on most of these cameras, you can also record the video on the cloud. Either record everything or just when motion triggers it. So that's important too. So D-Link makes a wide variety of both wired and wireless cameras, and if you go to Amazon or Newegg, you'll see many other phone brands and lower cost brands, and there's nothing wrong with those. It'll save you money. They're just perhaps a little less reliable.
Okay, one comment I have, and this is a generic comment about any installation that is connected to the internet. And let's say you do get a security camera system that has wires or wireless, doesn't matter. You will have a de facto default password. Absolutely change it. And don't change it to 1234. Okay? Because what happens is if you get hacked, typically the hackers say, well, we know that Swan uses a specific password. This is probably Swan equipment, and will use their default password, and they can get right into your system. So make sure that you change your password, and make sure you have it written down somewhere where you can access it. That was just my comment about passwords. Bert, there is a limit, 802.3, with different letters after it, roughly 100 meters, which is 328 feet, with cable. Is that still the standard? That you're limited to roughly 328 feet of distance, cable feet, between the camera, let's say, and the main device that records and connects to the cameras?
Yeah, and now are you talking about the power over Ethernet, where how far you can power it, or just how far?
No.
The data, period.
Data, period.
Yeah. It doesn't. It's not like you hit a certain distance and the bits just start flowing. They just stop. I'd recommend, just for reliability, 100 feet. But you can keep pushing it, and the funny thing is, it really depends on how good your router is and the signals that are being supplied, and whether you're using what level cat cable you're using, and things like that. But I mean, really, I recommend, just myself, to be conservative, use 100 feet, and you can put, if you have access, you can put an Ethernet switch in that'll just extend that distance. So, that's about the simplest thing to install. You just plug one internet cable in from one direction and one in another port of the switch from the other direction, and that can extend it infinitely.
Is there a device, Bert, that, let's say I've got, I need to go 600 feet, and I'm right at the edge of the 328 feet, but I'd sure like to go 600 feet. Is there a little box that I could plug in that's powered by the Ethernet cable that would let me extend, or would I have to do what you said, use a switch? We'll be right back. Bert Bertonis is with us, and we're talking about wireless security systems and briefly wired. So, Bert, my question was really simple. If I want to extend the 328-foot limit of Ethernet cable, let's say Cat 5e, is there a little box? I don't know of one. That's why I'm asking, that I could just insert that would be powered over the Ethernet that would just give me additional distance. Is there such a thing or not? I don't know.
Yes, the answer is yes, yes, and yes. In fact, There are so many choices and ways to extend Ethernet that it might get confusing. But let's try and deal with them one at a time. So if you just want to extend your wired Ethernet beyond the 300 feet, the easiest way, as I mentioned, is just put a switch in if you have one. If you don't have one, you can get Ethernet extenders, and they include ones with power over Ethernet. Just keep in mind that you do need somewhere to find AC to plug your, whatever the device is. It needs power, because you can't get power out of nothing if you're in the middle of nowhere. I suppose you could probably figure out something with solar cells, but so you do need power. So that's one way to extend your wired Ethernet. Now, if you want to go even further, like, let's say, you didn't ask me this, but you want to go 10 miles? You could. Well,
yeah, sure. Or 1 mile, or a half a mile.
Okay, well, there's another category of devices that will actually take your Ethernet, convert it to work over your phone line or any other simple, circuit you want to put, twisted pair, and you can actually go up to 10 miles. And so what it does is it's not going to use Cat5 cable. It's going to use, some other type of, very simple wiring you can put. Now, these devices do cost a few $100s, but what it'll do is boost your signal up to actually go miles, and, at the end, going to have one at either end to convert it back to traditional Ethernet. So they exist. You can just Google Ethernet extenders, and you can sub Google extend Ethernet over copper wire, and you'll find those devices. Again, more expensive though.
Very good. Okay.
Now for wireless, you also have many different options, and I can tell you at my home, I use two different kinds of wireless extenders to boost my wireless network. Because, let's face it, with modern home, with metal in the walls and all kinds of stuff, flat screen TVs, your Wi-Fi doesn't necessarily go that far. So I have two different wireless extenders at my home. One takes at my router, puts the Ethernet over my phone line, and then at another point in my home pulls it out of the phone line and creates another Wi-Fi transmitter, or, Wi-Fi really transponder. And so that gives me another Wi-Fi channel. Then at another part of my home, I actually have a wireless extender that receives the Wi-Fi and retransmits it on another channel. And I have both of those. So I have, three choices of where I can get Wi-Fi from in my home, from the main wireless router, from the little subunit that pulls it off of the phone wiring, and at another corner of my home, a Wi-Fi extender. And those devices are all under $100.
So, class, what we're hearing is you can do it. You're going to have to do a little bit of more research to find out the ideal system for your house. But the answer is yes, you can. And I love it. I love it. For me, it's wired. And for me, one of the challenges was 1,300 feet, going 1,300 feet. And I now know exactly what I need to do to accomplish that one missing piece of the equation here at the farm. And I can probably get that done in a couple of days. The wire's already in place for me. I just need the boxes. Very good. What else do you, yes?
Yeah, Vince, when we're off the air, if you're looking for your farm to go farther, check out, again, I don't work for them. It's just a company, but check out Perle.com, PERLE.com, and they have some very robust long-range Ethernet extenders.
Wonderful, wonderful. Class, Bert's been to the farm. He knows exactly what I'm thinking about while we're mentioning this on the air. Okay, so Bert, assuming that people are concerned about their security, best bang for the buck, is that going to be the Ring right now, the Ring doorbell?
Yeah, and there's other, devices certainly that are out there, but I just find Ring has great customer service, a wide choice of different type of cameras. They have devices that you can put in other rooms that just give you, they call them chimes, that just give you a little chime alert if there's motion or if there's somebody at your door. You can get them at Home Depot, Amazon, whatever. Of course, they're owned by Amazon now. Amazon bought the whole company. You've probably heard that story. The guy went on Shark Tank to try and raise money, and everybody turned him down. All the sharks turned him down, but the publicity got so many people calling in, he was flooded with angel investment, and then eventually some bigger investors came in, and a year or two ago, they got bought out by Amazon.
Mm-hmm. So, class, we are not being compensated by anybody. We don't have any advertisers. No one is paying us to say what we're saying. We're saying it because we think it's the right thing to say, to try to save you time and money and effort and be expedient, because I believe that we're getting down to the wire in terms of security and safety. Bert, what else do you have for us in terms of security systems, cameras, etc., that you think we should consider?
Well, while we're on Ring, let me mention one other aspect is in the app, you can actually share your alert if you want, or which alert with your neighbors if you want, if they also have Ring devices. So I don't do it at this point right now, but there is that kind of ability. And so I don't share any video or alert, but there is something called Neighborhood Alert, where if something does happen and the homeowner decides they want to share an attempted break-in or a prowler or something like that, then they can push it out to the neighborhood. And I do subscribe to that, just to, be aware of what's going on in my neighborhood. So that's a good feature of that. And also, you can share your video with police departments, and that could be useful if they're trying to track down somebody if something's going on. So other devices, well, we didn't talk as much about cameras, but you can put cameras everywhere. So, nothing to do with the doorbell itself, but you can put cameras with motion detector. You can have them, even powered off of solar cells if you don't want to replace the batteries. And they can be connected to your wireless network. And I think the solar cell option is kind of cool because you can, forget about it for a few years until, the mice start chewing into your solar panel.
Okay. So just back to Ring for a second. You mentioned save the video in the cloud. Is there a way that you could save the video to your own computer? So, for example, you've got motion detection. Someone comes up, the camera detects it, swings into record mode, but instead of sending that video feed to the cloud, it sends it only to your personal computer, which happens to be running in your house on your network, on your Wi-Fi system. Is that possible?
It's funny you ask that, Vince, because that's how I used to do it with previous, you call them, IP cameras or internet cameras. That's how I used to do it. And, I'm sure you still can, but it seems like all the apps are really moving to the cloud. And I know you're worried about security, and a lot of people are, but, hey, even your computer can be hacked into. But the advantage of the cloud is once it's on the cloud, you can get it from any device. If you're just saving it into one of your PCs, then generally that's pretty hard. If if it's in your home PC and you're at work and you want to see the video, it's a little hard to access it. So I think, personally, I don't see a problem with it being stored to the cloud. I think that's fine.
Okay. What would be the next level up? Let's say a person said, you know what, we got the front door, we got the back door, we got the garage. Wouldn't it be nice if someone bashed in the front door or broke into the front door? We could get a video of them closer up in the house, coming down the hallway. What about that? What about a network of cameras? Let's say 8 cameras. I just picked that number.
Yeah, I mean that's just adding 8 cameras. And don't think of it as clogging up your Wi-Fi network. Obviously, it'll add a little traffic, but generally, it's not going to be adding any actual wireless traffic unless you access it to look at the video or there's motion detected. So I believe 8 would be doable on a Ring system, provided you didn't have activity simultaneous on all 8 cameras. Might kind of drive the wireless channel nuts, but that shouldn't really be a problem.
Okay. I was thinking about these systems, and for me, wired is the way to go. The wire's already there. Got some cameras already hooked up. What would a typical camera system? It could be wireless, because a lot of these cameras you have a choice. You can make them wireless or wired. Just your choice when you install them. What would this system cost? Let's say for 8 cameras.
How many cameras do you want?
Roughly 8.
We're looking at
anywhere
from $50 to $100 to start to there's systems that can go over $1,000. If you really want to put 8 cameras, you can buy there's companies offer kits with 8 camera kit and it's a home security system. You plug the 8 cameras into and you can do this wired. You can run them all into a little aggregator switch and do it that way. And you can certainly buy those. Just Google home wireless camera security system.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, so there are people who might be interested in wired, and a lot of those systems come with a coaxial type cable. Now, class, that would be kind of like a television cable TV type cable, but much more flexible. But the same style, center core, center wire, insulation around it, wrapped by some layer of copper, and just two conductors. That's called coaxial cable. Now, what if a person has already wired with Cat5 Ethernet? Is there a conversion, a transformer, a balun that will convert the in-house wiring to and from coaxial cable? Can you mention that when we come back? Well, Bert, you have outdone yourself. Your ratings today were in the stratosphere in terms of the podcast version of this broadcast. I think you set a record today, literally, and I'll send you a print screen of it. I want to thank you. We still have a few more minutes, but I want to thank you because I went to Pearl, PERLE.com, and I typed in, found the Ethernet repeater, the extender. And then I went to Amazon and I typed, I copied the model number of this particular Ethernet repeater, typed Amazon.com, comma, and then I typed in the model number, and I found a whole bunch. And so for $16.99, I can extend one port, Ethernet 10 megabits to 100 megabits per second, another 328 feet. So you take your regular 328 feet and put this box in the middle of it, powered over the Ethernet, small box size of a pack of cigarettes. And now I've got, roughly close to 700 feet. Solves the problem for $16.99. And if I spend $25 or more, it's free shipping. Absolutely fabulous. I'm really impressed. Got one other question about the converting coaxial to Cat5e. Is there a balun? Are they still available where you can, if you've got Cat5e in the wall already, you can use your cameras over Cat5e?
There are, but, really the industry is moving to the Cat 6, 7. I know a lot of the older traditional cameras work on coax, but I really recommend just going Ethernet. And, you had mentioned before about, putting up multiple cameras. If you go to Amazon, you can find lots of kits that come with 4 cameras, 8 cameras, and you can basically wire them using Cat5 cable direct to this little, let's call it a hub, and then that hub can connect to your home internet system, either wirelessly or wired, and it's a little bit more professional than, say, the Ring unit. It might cost about $500 for 4 or 8 cameras, but it'll be more reliable. It's also higher definition and higher quality cameras. One brand that you'll find on Amazon is Reolink with 4K, which is great resolution.
Okay, so let's say a person were a sophisticated burglar, and the person decided to break into a house and they thought, yeah, I'll bet you they've got a Ring camera. I'll bet you they've got some kind of wireless network. Is there a jammer? And I'm not trying to commit a crime here. I'm just trying to let our class know that there's a possibility that there might be a jammer. A guy could have this device in his pocket, press this start button, and now the entire Wi-Fi signal is jammed and the cameras don't work anymore. No upload to the cloud, nothing. The camera doesn't work, the security system doesn't work. Is that possible that there is such a device, a jammer?
Yeah, I mean, certainly you can jam wireless and it can be done. But look at it this way, Vince. They have to really want your home to go through that level of trouble. And by the way, there's ways to, put extra levels of security. For instance, I have a traditional, well, I don't want to give away too many details here, but let's say I have a traditional home security system that has nothing to do with Wi-Fi. And in order to get through my home, and I think a lot of other people think this way, you have to break through multiple levels of security. So there's got to be something you really want. And in my case, I don't know what they would be after. My record albums from the 60s and 70s. I mean, I don't have anything really of value in my house, that they're going to use the level to try and jam my wireless system. And I think that's how most people should think of it, is unfortunately, the burglars are going to pick the low-hanging fruit. They're going to go up to the house where they don't see a Ring doorbell at the front door. Because once they walk up to the house, they're already captured. Whatever they do after that, smash it or whatever, they're already on camera at that point, and you got it captured. So,
what else would you like to share with us? And these are all very valid points that you're making. Well reasoned, well thought out, and you've got the experience behind the installation and the use of these devices. What else would you like to share in the remaining very short time that we have about security systems?
Be friends with your neighbor, because he knows where you live, and you can help each other out. So once you get your home secured, go help your neighbor and do a good deed and help them out, because that'll help create the whole, make the whole neighborhood more secure. And, maybe bums that go around breaking into homes will find something else to do if they realize that they can't get away with stuff like they used to.
Very good. Very good. Bert, I've said it in the past. I've said it privately. I'll say it publicly. I really appreciate your friendship. I really do. And you're the guy that, when I was teaching my son, that the definition of a friend is someone you can ask for $1,000, and that friend would say, sure. No questions asked, no contract, no written agreement. He would just say, sure. And you are that guy in my world, in my life. Bert, thanks so much. I really mean it. You are a very, very dear friend. Thank you for your time.
You're welcome, Ben.
And thank you for being there.